Hello and welcome to Reading Workshop 101. My name is Heidi Luella and I'm the K-8 Instructional and Literacy Coach for Bensalem School District. This video will focus on the small group instruction during the independent work time in the Reading Workshop. Before we dive in, let's look back at what makes the Reading Workshop successful. Think of Reading Workshop as the three-legged stool. Each leg, structure, intentional instruction, and accountability is a necessary component. If one leg is not sturdy, then the entire stool could fall over, and the same goes for the workshop. The purpose of today's video is to focus on the structure leg of the three-legged stool, more specifically the structure of small group instruction. The time we spend in Reading Workshop is like a pie cut into slices. The mini lesson, that smaller piece, is meant to be from 7 to 12 minutes and has a pretty tight structure to keep it concise. Without focusing on the structure for the mini lesson, teachers may find themselves using a much longer period of time, which then takes away from the valuable work necessary in the independent time. The independent work time is the remainder of the workshop pie and where all of the practice and differentiation happens. While the mini lesson has a predictable routine to keep it concise, the independent work is also routine, but it also has a lot of moving parts that can make it feel less routine compared to the mini lesson. But even with those moving parts, there's still a structure and a routine that need to be practiced. The independent work is broken down into 5 parts, including small group instruction. During the reading workshop, there are multiple instructional tools being used. The mini lesson, that's 7 to 12 minutes in the beginning of the workshop, and conferring and small group instruction, which are 2 of the moving parts used during the independent work time. These tools are not equal. The mini lesson is actually your weakest tool, which is why we don't want to spend so much time there. It steals away from the independent time where the stronger tools are used. Conferring is your strongest tool in your toolbox. But when you have multiple students with the same need, you could use small group instruction. It's not as strong as conferring, but you can add aspects of conferring into it to strengthen this tool that's still stronger than the mini lesson. One question I'm asked often is, how do I set up my groups? The truth is, there are many factors that determine the makeup of a group, including needs determined from pre-assessments, running records, other literacy assessment data, especially in K-2, formative assessments. But the bottom line is, however you group students, you're determining the needs based on data. The pre-assessment for each unit, for example, provides you with what specifically you will be teaching in the mini lessons for the unit. The 4th grade pre-assessment will have students show where they are in terms of 4 learning progressions. So here is the pre-assessment for 4th grade. The first question, we see that the learning progression that we're using to evaluate students and where they are is the inferring about character. The second is on character response change. The third is analyzing parts of a story in relation to the whole. And the 4th is determining themes and cohesion. In that unit that this pre-assessment is based on, these are the 4 major learning progressions that you'll be using. And so you want to see, where are your students in terms of those 4 progressions. Let's look at just one of those progressions, inferring about character. When you look at what students wrote to answer the question, you will also look to see where they're thinking from on this progression. It's not a matter of were they right or wrong, but at what level are they thinking about character. You may find that when you look at the progressions for making inferences about character, that students will fall in different places. This can help you determine the groupings. You may find that some of your students don't even show up on the progressions. You may find that you have students anywhere in the grade 2 band, grade 3 band, grade 4 band. You may even find that you have some students who are, according to the learning progressions, doing work and thinking that is above grade level. For example, the students that fall into grade 2 are going to need specific strategies to move them to grade 3. The idea is that we are moving. We can't move kids from grade 2 all the way up to grade 4 overnight. So we want to build that foundation by looking at what's next in 3rd grade that they're missing. What is the difference from grade 2 when it comes to inferencing about character to grade 3 when it comes to inferencing about character? And how can you coach them into that deeper thinking? Students that fall into grade 3 will need specific strategies to move them to grade 4. And even those students in grade 4 who are already showing that they are on grade level in terms of thinking about character, they can still grow as readers and move from where they are to the grade 5 band. The same for readers who are in the grade 5 band. They can move even higher to the grade 6 band. This is differentiated instruction. You're meeting kids where they are and you're moving them to what's next for them as individuals or small groups. But sometimes looking at one data point is not enough. For example, if you were to coach all the students who are in the grade 2 band and try coaching them into grade 3 thinking, that will only work if they're reading books that are in the text complexity band of NOP, which is what you find in grade 3. If they're in grade 2, the grade 2 box for inferring about character, and their independent reading is in the grade 2 of text complexity, then they're reading books that are in that band of K, L, and M. And their book is not going to support the new work you're introducing in that grade 3 because only books in the NOP are going to be able to do that work. Books in the KLM band are not going to have the complexity of the inferring work that readers do in grade 3, so you're going to have to approach it differently. So if by looking at the progressions and running records, you run into students like students 1, 5, and 8 who are reading KLM books like Pete the Cat and Pig the Pug and Amelia Bedelia, then coaching them to do the higher thinking work that can be accomplished in a book in the band that is above it, like The World According to Humphrey, will not allow students to practice in their independent reading books. You can use a read aloud from the next band to practice. Humphrey has the text complexity of an O, but it may be a smarter idea to look at the data and determine what kids who are reading in the KLM band in 4th grade need to read lots and lots and move them to the next band. You can still provide some guided practice with a read aloud text like Humphrey for these students to provide instruction, but you also need to move them from where they are in terms of their reading level. So what is getting in the way? Is it engagement? Is it stamina? Is it fluency? The more you know, the better you can match appropriate goals and group students accordingly. So you're going to want to look at all the data and determine which needs need to be addressed before others. The Reading Strategies book by Jennifer Saravallo, which we have in our classrooms, is a great place to go to determine where to start. The book is broken down into chapters that range from emergent reading all the way to writing about reading. With your readers who are thinking on level according to the band of text complexity that they're reading in, they may need goals that are within the emergent reading, engagement, print work, fluency, and basic comprehension. Before addressing needs in the thinking work, which you find in the center of the chart, which will be in the center of the book, plot and setting, character, themes, etc. Each page lets you know the level the strategy is, what it's used for, the genre, and the skills being addressed. It gives you the strategy, it gives you some prompts to use with students, and it'll even give you an anchor chart that you could show students. We're going to watch this small group instructional video. Notice how the teacher uses the class read aloud Tiger Rising as the common text to teach them, but coaches each student in their independent book. As you watch, what else do you notice?
Okay, readers, find a good pausing place in your books. So we've been working a lot on reading intensely, right? And one of the things we've been working on is making a mental movie. Give me one of these if you've been doing some of that work. Good. So what we really call that is envisioning. And when we envision, we say things like, I'm imagining or I'm picturing. Can you look in your notebooks right now and see if you can find any places where you've maybe said, oh, here I see I'm picturing. Here Preston wrote, I'm imagining. You're picturing Amelia. Great, awesome. So it seems like we're already doing this work, right? I want to show you today a way that we can take it to the next level. Sound good? So I see in our envisioning jots, we're noticing who, we're seeing the characters in our minds, and we're noticing what they're doing. But what we want to try to do is notice how the characters are moving. So to do that, we might think about our characters' feelings. And that kind of helps us get a sense for what they might be looking like in their face or how they're moving their bodies. Do you want to try some of that work with me? Yes. Okay, so we read this chapter today in Tiger Rising. And do you remember at the end, Rob is sitting on his bed and he's carving wood and he starts to carve the tiger? Do you remember what do we know about Rob and carving wood? How does that make him feel?
It makes him remember about his mom.
Yes, remember that? It reminds him of his mom because his mom taught him. So is this something he enjoys or is it something he doesn't like to do?
Enjoys.
He likes to do this. I think it's kind of calming for him. Would you say so too? Okay, so I'm gonna read this and we know it's gonna be Rob and we know he's gonna be carving, but let's see if we can imagine maybe how he's doing it. What does his face look like? What is his body doing? Are you ready? Okay. Rob sat on his bed and started to work on carving the tiger. He had a good piece of maple and his knife was sharp. And in his mind, he could see the tiger clearly. So, did you picture maybe Rob's face? What did you see on Rob's face?
A smile.
Oh, maybe he was happy? Did anybody else see him maybe a little bit focused? Okay, so what we might do also is try to fill in the gaps in our mental movie using what we know. So we knew that Rob likes carving wood. It helps him feel relaxed. I know Rob loves carving wood, so I'm picturing a big grin on his face. Do you see how we did that? So I want you now to read your books. Think about who and what you're seeing in your mind, but also think about how they're feeling and how they might be doing it. Do you want to try that work? Okay, pick up your books and get started. How's it going, Preston?
Good.
Talk to me about what work are you doing? Have you started this envisioning yet? Okay, can you tell me what you're thinking?
I'm thinking that her mom doesn't like being in this hotel.
Good, so you're thinking about your character feelings, aren't you? So now tell me, how is she reacting? What does she look like? What are you seeing in your mind when you picture her mom?
She's like scared.
Good. So what might her face be looking like?
She's like a screaming face.
Oh, maybe screaming. So is she running? Is she moving her body?
Yes.
And how might she be running?
She's running really fast.
Good. Could you jot some of that down? Use what you know about the feelings and jot what you're picturing in your mind. Hey, Jermaine, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Tell me some of the work you're doing. Have you tried this yet? Okay, you want to talk to me about it?
Yes.
Okay.
I noticed that Harry is showing a girl a shoebox.
Good.
And scaring her.
Oh, so you're noticing who's in your scene, right? Harry and this girl. And what is he doing?
Scaring her.
With the shoebox. So now you can really think about how this girl is reacting. How is she feeling? What does she look like?
She's feeling scared.
So what do you picture her as?
I picture her as
Like maybe her face. What does her face look like?
screaming.
Maybe screaming. Okay, maybe is her mouth open? Does she look shocked? Good, could you write about that a little bit? Okay, I'm gonna come back and check on you. All right, Rihanna, how's it going over here? Did you get a chance to try it? Okay, you wanna talk to me about what you're thinking?
I'm thinking that like maybe her mom doesn't want her to go outside.
Can you open the book and show me where you're thinking this?
Here because like he was looking at pictures outside
Okay.
and like the dude that was like eating the scorpion probably makes her don't want to go outside anymore.
So who doesn't want to go outside, her mom or her? Her mom. So you're thinking about her mom? Are you thinking about how her mom looks, or are you seeing her face in your mind?
Her face.
Okay, what are you picturing? Can you tell me more? Make me see the movie in my brain too.
Like her face is like really disgusted.
Okay, so is she feeling upset? Is she feeling bothered?
She's really bothered.
Okay, can you write about that? Can you include the character feelings and how she might be looking too? Make me see that picture in your jot. Hey, Javea, how's it going? Good. Talk to me about what you're thinking.
I'm thinking that later on when you go to the restaurant, I think Froggy's gonna eat Nessie. Because
Oh.
he's really hungry.
That seems like you're doing some predicting work, huh? That's great. Keep it up. But now I want you to see if you can try this envisioning. So I like how you're thinking about your characters and what they're doing. Have you thought about their feelings at all? Tell me about some of the feelings you're thinking about.
Sometimes he feels happy sometimes, but when he thinks he's all dressed, but when his mom tells him to do something, he gets angry.
And then what do you picture when he gets angry?
He seems frustrated and mad,
And what might he be looking like? What do you see on his face?
angry.
Okay. Or maybe his eyebrows are furrowed. Okay, good. That might be something you can jot about. Find a good pausing place, you guys, and let's come back together. So, as you go off and read in your books, I want you to remember that you can use your character's feelings to help you make a better mental movie in your mind. So when you envision from here on out, can you make sure that you think about your character's feelings too? Okay, off you go.
You may have noticed a lot of the same aspects of the conference because she was able to weave in individual conferencing by coaching, but notice that the small group instruction is prepared ahead of time. So that's an addition that we see from conferring to small group. We also see that she used a shared text. She was using the mentor text from the unit Tiger Rising, which our fourth graders use. She was doing some guided practice with them that allowed them to transfer then into their independent reading books, and she even took the time to coach each student using the strategy in their independent reading book before sending them off to continue that work. Small group instruction can feel overwhelming because it's like a giant puzzle, and the skills and the groupings can change over time. The video is merely an introduction to the structure of the small group with a slight tasting of some intentional instruction, but more information will be shared in a separate video focusing more on intentional instruction. In the meantime, I highly recommend going to the Reading Strategies book in the Heinemann website and scrolling to the bottom of the page to the companion resources. Looks like this. I would view the study guide and even check out the free informational webinar on the book, and also check out her Reading and Writing Strategies Facebook group for more information, including some summer study groups that she uses. Have a great day.